With so many books to choose from, where do we start? Hey everyone, welcome to Diablo Flamenco. In this video we're going to look at my top 5 flamenco guitar method books for beginner students. So let's jump into my number 5 pick. My number 5 pick is Hal Leonard's Flamenco Guitar Method Book. So this isn't the most traditional book to start learning from, but it's definitely a good example of technique. The exercises are not boring in here, they are much more musical compared to a lot of other method books. It goes over everything. There's an introduction to the history in here, the basic song forms and palos in flamenco, as well as the basic techniques, and they do give you a few full-length pieces that you can perform from. There's lots of great pictures in here as well. I'm just going to show just a snippet of what is in here. Lots of pictures, lots of text, but also some really nice examples of technique work. This is definitely much more contemporary flamenco than traditional. My number 4 pick is the Total Flamenco Guitarist by Juanito Pascual, and this comes with a really nice audio CD to help you listen to the examples in the book as well as the pieces. The whole beginning of the book is technical work, working on picado, rasgueados, alfabula, and all these other techniques that are so common in flamenco. And then the last half of the book are progressive solos, so each one gets a little more difficult as you go on, which is a really nice thing. So you can actually see your level as you are progressing through these pieces. And they're actually really nice pieces too to get you started. There's a really nice solia in here that I love to play all the time. So that is my number 4 pick. This is the Total Flamenco Guitarist by Juanito Pascual. My number 3 pick is Flamenco Explained by my teacher Kai Narezo. And I'm not just putting this book in the video because I am friends with Kai, but this is a really good book. It goes in a much more traditional sense of teaching flamenco, where it starts with soleares and talking about basic compás, and then he shows how we can change up certain places within a solea compás to get variations in the flamenco music. So this is a much more traditional way of teaching. What I also like, my favorite section in this book, at the end of each chapter he has a section, it's called Constructing a Solo, and he shows how we can take a falsetta or an intro, and then this type of compás, and then an escobilla or whatever else you want to do. And if you go in this order, you'll have a pretty traditional solo, and that's how you can start writing your own arrangements of either solea or an alegrias or the sigarias or burarias, whatever style you want to play. So this book is very useful for that, and I highly recommend Flamenco Explained. My number 2 pick is Flamenco Basic Techniques by Juan Serrano. And this is another very old school method, but very traditional. This was also one of my first books, and it goes over everything from basic techniques from the beginning of the book to certain scales, to picado, to tremolo, and all these other techniques that are so useful to us as flamenco guitarists. And then he starts going into pieces, and they are somewhat progressive. There's some really nice sevillanas in here that are very easy, very attainable for the beginner student, and then he gets a little more difficult each time. If you want to hear an example of a piece in this book, click the card above and I will put a link to one of my performances of Juan Serrano's Alegrias para Baile, which can be found in this book. But very good book, and a very old school method that still holds up today. And finally, for my number 1 pick for flamenco guitar method books for the absolute beginner, I would have to say, hands down, Juan Martin's El Arte Flamenco de la Guitarra. So another older method. This originally came out in 1978. This is the newest edition, but a very traditional method of teaching flamenco. It goes right from the beginning and shows very basic solea and holding chords. And I love, there's a lot of text in here, so I like to read, so I like reading the background information on flamenco. There's little snippets about history, about choosing a guitar, and all sorts of things, about accessories. There's lots of great things in this book. It's a pretty chunky book too. It's actually a pretty big book. And I will put a link in the description to Juan Martin's website where you can go and purchase this book because I highly recommend it. I am not posting affiliate links in the description. I just really love these books so much that I am willing to show you my recommendations. And those are my picks for my top 5 flamenco guitar method books for beginners. Of course, these aren't the only 5 I would recommend, but if I had to narrow it down to 5 books, I would say that you, as an absolute beginner, should stick with these first 5, and then you can continue on to the other selections, other repertoire books like Juan Martin's solo flamencos, or other selections similar to that manner. But if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you in the next class. Hasta luego.